In August, the model inside GitHub Copilot changes. Not because you asked, not because you chose it. Microsoft is swapping the engine underneath the most widely used developer tool on the planet, and most of the 26 million people who use it will never get a vote. The new default is a model Microsoft built itself. The one it replaces came from OpenAI. Here's the part nobody at Build spent much time on, what that switch actually costs the people who didn't make it. Let's start with exactly what happened on that stage in early June. On June 2nd, at Build 2026, Satya Nadella announced Project Polaris. It's Microsoft's own coding model. Starting in August, it becomes the default engine for every GitHub Copilot subscriber, replacing GPT-4 Turbo from OpenAI. Existing users get migrated automatically. There's an optional fallback to the old model for 3 months. After that, the fallback closes. Microsoft shipped the second story the same day, a family of in-house models called MAI, led by its first reasoning model. Microsoft says it matches a competitor's model from earlier this year on one coding benchmark. Set that claim aside. Benchmarks are not the story here. But beyond the benchmarks, the real story here is ownership. For 7 years, Microsoft's AI strategy ran on OpenAI's models. In April, the two companies loosened that partnership. Polaris is what loosening looks like in production. Microsoft now controls the model, the chips it runs on its own MWIA accelerators, and the cloud underneath, end-to-end, its own stack inside its own flagship developer product. For Microsoft, that's a strong position. Cleaner licensing, lower cost per query, data that stays inside its own boundary. Those are real advantages, and Microsoft earned them. But look at it from the other side of the contract. If you run an engineering organization, your developer's code assistant is about to start thinking with a different brain. Same interface, same logo, different model, different training data, different behavior. And the decision to switch was made in a keynote, not in your procurement review. Here's where the pattern shows up. After 25 years in cybersecurity, I've watched this exact move more times than I can count. A vendor pushes a silent update that changes how a system behaves. The interface looks identical, so nobody logs it as a change. Then something breaks, and the incident review finds the behavior shifted weeks earlier and no one wrote it down. We learned, the hard way, to treat the vendor's default as a decision someone else made for us. The default is the decision. I just inherited that lesson on a faster clock. To see why this matters, you need one idea about enterprise software. A default model is not a setting, it's a supply chain. When your coding assistant generates code, it's pulling from whatever model sits behind it. That model was trained on specific data under specific licenses with specific security behavior. Swap the model, and you've swapped all of it. Different training data means a different chance of reproducing licensed code you didn't intend to ship. Different security behavior means the assistant that flagged a risky pattern last month might wave it through next month. None of that shows up in the interface. The button looks the same. This is what supply chain people mean by a substitution. A part in your product gets replaced with a different part from a different source, and if you weren't tracking the part, you don't notice until something fails downstream. Now, the 3-month fallback. Microsoft frames it as a courtesy, stay on the old model while you adjust. Here's what 25 years of watching defaults tells me. Almost nobody changes the default. The fallback window is real, but it runs on a clock, and when it closes, the default carries everyone who didn't act. The opt-out exists, the default does the work. So the real question isn't whether Polaris is a good model. It might be excellent. The question is whether your organization treats a silent change to the model behind your code as a procurement event, a security review, and a licensing review, or as nothing at all because the button didn't move. So what do you actually do with this? It depends on your seat. If you're an executive, a CTO, a CIO, a VP of engineering, this is a procurement event that arrived without a procurement process. You didn't run an RFP, you didn't compare models. A vendor changed a core component of a tool your teams depend on and handed you a 3-month window to react. Your job from here is to make the implicit decision explicit. Decide on purpose whether you accept the new default, extend the fallback, or move part of your workload to a model you chose. Don't let the month of August decide it for you by silence. Take control of the transition. If you're an IT leader or a security lead, the work is concrete. Inventory, where Copilot's default actually touches your codebase, which repos, which teams, which pipelines. Put the model swap on the change calendar like any other production change, because that's what it is. In my experience, the changes that hurt most are the ones that never got a ticket. A model that rewrites how your developers produce code is not a quiet background update. Treat it like a release, test it like a release, and decide on the fallback window before the clock decides for you. If you're a board director, the question is concentration. Your most used engineering tool is about to run on one vendor's model, one vendor's chips, and one vendor's cloud, end to end. That's efficient. It's also concentration. Risk in its purest form, the kind that stays invisible right up until the vendor changes terms, raises prices, or has an outage you can't route around. Ask whether single vendor dependency in your core developer toolchain sits on your risk register. If it doesn't, that's the gap. And here's the broader point under all three seats. The interesting thing about Build wasn't the model benchmarks. It was Microsoft proving it can replace its own partner's product inside its own platform on its own timeline. Every vendor you depend on is watching that move, and some will copy it. The quiet assumption that the tool you bought last year is running the model you bought last year, that assumption just expired. The component behind the interface can change under you by default with a keynote for notice. If you take three things into your next operating review, take these. 1. Find your fallback date. Microsoft's window is 3 months from the August switch. Put the exact expiry on a calendar with a name attached to the decision. A deadline with no owner is a deadline that passes. 2. Treat the model swap as a supply chain change, not a settings change. That means a licensing check, a security review, and a test pass on real code, the same discipline you'd apply if a vendor changed any other component in your build. 3. Put single vendor concentration on the agenda, not just for Copilot. For every tool where one provider now owns the model, the infrastructure, and the cloud. Name the dependency before it names you. Here's where the needle lands. Microsoft building its own stack is a real promise. Cleaner data, lower cost, tighter control, those are genuine wins. And for plenty of organizations, Polaris will be a better engine than the one it replaces, but a better engine installed by default without a decision is still a governance gap. The promise is Microsoft's. The risk is yours. And it's the risk of treating a substitution in your software supply chain as if nothing happened. The needle leans toward risk, not because the model is bad, but because the change is silent. In a couple of weeks, I'm publishing the deeper piece on this. The unmonitored AI supply chain, the components that change underneath you, and why most organizations have no inventory of the models inside their own tools. It lands June 17th on frederiklindstrom.info. Link in the description once it's live. The pattern here is older than AI. Every platform shift, the convenient default, became the de facto policy. And the organizations that won were the ones that decided on purpose, instead of inheriting the decision. Cloud did this, mobile did this, AI is doing it again, faster, and this time the thing changing underneath you is the model that writes your code. So here's the question to bring into your next engineering review. Before August does it for you, do you know which model is writing your company's code? And did anyone actually choose it? If the answer is no, you've found this quarter's governance project. See you next week. Thank you for watching.